everybody, it's Maya, and today, I'm sorry, god dang it, I'm so used to saying it. Okay. Hey everybody, it's animation. No, I'm gonna keep hey everybody, it's Maya. Hey everybody, it's Maya, and today we're going to be going through my first ever sketchbook tour. Yay! This was the very first sketchbook that I started drawing in when I was learning how to draw. I say was as if I'm still not learning all the time, but this was my very first sketchbook where I started practicing everything. So this started in 2021, a little bit over 4 years ago. Ugh, god, that feels gross to say. So why don't we go ahead and get started. Alright, so on the cover you have Dean Slayer, you have Mr. Scott, Jurassic Park, Hinata Shoyo. We have Dwight, and we also have Bokuto and Akashi. And on the back, we have Tsukushima and Yaguchi. And then we have another one of Dwight. We have a dinosaur, of course. Lovely, lovely T-Rex. And then we have Attack on Titan right here. And for some reason, the Apple logo. So, first page. We have a drawing of Mono here. It's really unfortunate. When I went to take this out recently, I found out that this page like separates, so I'm kind of sad about that. It was my first drawing in a traditional sketchbook. I went from drawing on my iPad for a little bit when I was learning, and then once I was really trying to get serious, I got a sketchbook, and this was May 17, 2021. This is Mono from Little Nightmares. And if you have been following on my channel at all, you will know that when I did my school vlog, I did another one, but it had Mono and it had 6. Anyways, I'm really excited for number 3, and I hope they release it soon. And then we move on to the eye practice. It's just funny the way that my style has grown past anime style. So I did a bunch of random eyes that I saw online, and then for some reason, somehow, I moved My Hero Academia here. I have Deku's eyes, Bakugo's eyes, Suyu, and Jiro. And then here I did some nose studies, even though, you know, a lot of them are just kind of random marks. And then I did a mouth study. I had went from kind of not knowing how to go about drawing. The most common way that I saw that people were drawing things were in an anime style, and so that's kind of like how I went about learning, I guess. It was mostly in the anime style, and so that's kind of how I learned to do things, was I was just copying what I saw. And look how well that got me. It got me lost for a really long time, and I could not figure out what I wanted to do or how I wanted to do it. So, yay! Anyways, next page. I tried drawing a cat, and I tried like kind of simpling it down. I tried simplifying it, there we go. And then I did like a cat mug for some reason. I'm not sure where I got the idea for that, but well, it's here. So, and then here, I was trying to do like a head and neck practice. These look so bad. These look horrible. So the chin is like super pointy, which is not something that I want for my style personally. Then this was like kind of my first 3/4 perspective, whatever. And then I tried doing a side view, and it kind of looks like a cat for some reason. Those ears look horrendous. I do not miss that. I don't like looking at them, so we're gonna continue on. And this one is even worse because her ears like twisted into... Okay, that's enough. And then I tried drawing like an actual pose here, but it didn't really go anywhere. I literally just kind of got the guidelines down, and then I never like picked a character or anything to do this, to like handle the rest of this. So this was an experiment that went nowhere. It literally went nowhere. I don't have facial features or anything. I think especially at that time I was having a hard time with them, so I don't think I will ever go back to it though. Here is when I first started working on perspective. I worked on 1 point perspective here, did 2 point here. I did 2 point here, but I kept the guidelines in. I actually really like the dramaticness of 2 and 3 point perspective. Even though I know kind of the basics of it, I don't really know how to create organic shapes in perspective. Like, if you ask me to draw a person in perspective, I don't think I could do it. And here's some more 3-point perspective. I tried this with kind of like a smaller box. This was more trying to be like a building. This was something I saw in a drawing book that I found. It was recommending blind contour drawing, where you don't look at your paper and you don't lift your pencil while you focus on what you're drawing. I have a Dundee. There was a mason jar that I had in my room, my candle that I had at the time, my mirror. I kind of think that one's kind of cool. And a Michael Scott poster, which I was like, I kind of did pretty good on the face, kind of. It looks more symmetrical than you would expect a beginner to be. I was reading from a book that was saying that this was gesture drawing. Newsflash, it is not. But I still think that I was able to capture kind of like the essence of most of the poses pretty well. Like this one looks stupid, this one looks stupid. But I feel like for the most part, like this looks not that bad. I don't know what pose that is, it looks stupid. This clearly looks like a Kamehameha. And I don't know what this is. But I think it was a good start. By the way, just a brief break. You guys like my nails? I haven't really had, what is it called, extension in nails before, but my friend Rachel did them and they look so freaking pretty. And if you play Love in Deep Space, they're Silas inspired. Because okay, let me stop. So here's some more 3-point perspective. These were down shots. You'll notice a lot I wrote like kind of like notes for myself. I'm like, oh, this looks weird, or oh, I need to work on this, need to fix this, blah blah blah. And then here was sculpting that was part of the Matte Core series, cutting holes and stuff, rounding a corner, adding an angled surface, removing an angled surface. And then here we have basic shapes into simplifying shapes. So I took a cube into a treasure chest. You can kind of see the guidelines here too. I put a bunch of squares into a ketchup. I almost had a truck in perspective. A circle, no, a cube or a rectangle in perspective to make a truck. And then I did an eraser. No. Then I did a pencil sharpener, and then I did a spray bottle here, I did a stapler down here, and I did a nose too. That was my first time really trying a facial feature like that, so I was actually pretty proud of myself. Here, I got a little bit creative with it, and I did multiple buildings in 3-point perspective, and I did a bunch of different colors, so I genuinely like the way that this came out. I really like this kind of like dramatic angle. Anyways, I drew a street in 1-point perspective, and I actually really like it. I was like, it's so calm. I just wish that I did different variations with the buildings, but I wasn't using a reference at the time. I was just going with imagination. And then here, there's an artist. His name is Ruben Lara, and on his website, he recommends drawing like for practicing anatomy. I think one of them was to draw like Lego characters, just because they have like really simple forms, and like that could help you with kind of like building a body. I think this is the main guy in the Lego movie. This is a stuffed dinosaur that I have that I was given as a graduation gift from my friend Lexi, and I actually love this dinosaur so much. It was like one of my second or third project I had to draw in charcoal when I was first starting community college, and I picked the dinosaur and it actually came out really well. I don't think I could replicate it, even though that was 3 years ago. And then here I drew a wine glass and some wine bottles. I drew Koro Sensei. I did color pencil, which I think this was my first kind of introduction into color of traditional sketching. I was avoiding it heavily for a long time, and now I rarely don't have color in mine. It's funny how that works. And then here is the drawing that started the annual Hinata drawing. And I think this year makes year 4. That looks actually horrendous. Look at them nasty looking fingers. What is that? Disgusting. Where is your hand, sir? It got cut off. Why is his chrome so big? You got a big old back of your head, man. And then your jacket's extending past your whole body. This whole thing is just so bad. And I drew a clone trooper helmet here. And here I drew a bunch of Patricks. For the amount of time that I was drawing, these actually came out pretty well. I like the meme that comes with this one. And of course, I gotta have Kirby in there. I gotta. And I colored him too. I freaking love Kirby. He's my comfort character to draw. Look at him, he's so freaking cute. And then here's Asui from My Hero Academia. She has no face though, not sure why. And also her head is kind of too small to have a face anyways. And then this one is
I call it bold and brash. More like belongs in the trash.
So this was at the end of August here. Oh, I got tips very, very early on in my art journey to date my work. So that's why I know when all of these things were done, is because like as soon as I started drawing, I was told to start dating my work. So here I was practicing more eye styles. You can see here that I was kind of working on realistic, semi-realistic, you know, of the sort. And then, you know, tried back with anime style again, especially this one you get and then the eyelashes on this look horrendous because, you know, they should never really be like that. And then comes this one. I actually genuinely miss kind of just drawing out scenes from stuff. I used to do that a lot. So this is the...
What'll it be, fellas? Mustard or ketchup?
I actually had a lot of fun. I think it came out really well. Lord, take off your hat and respect. Respect for the dead. Here was me attempting poses in kind of like a mannequin shape. The person I was talking about before, Ruben Lara, he has a website where he has a mannequin pose with simple shapes like this. So I just kind of took screenshots of different poses that it was doing, and I tried to imitate it as best as I could. And I think that starting out like this did help me a lot, even though sometimes I still get very, very lost and I have to relearn things that I learned. Here's Kenma. This was around when I finished Haikyuu, I think. I was trying to work on just kind of like drawing things that already existed so that I could work on just like how to draw said things. And a lot of what I picked was anime just because it's a more simplified style. Realism is very, very difficult. Even semi-realism, which is kind of like the art style that I'm working on now, even that is pretty difficult to attain. But especially in the beginning, I was like, anime style is simple and generally easy to follow. So you'll see a pattern of that here. So this is Kenma. Freaking love him, he's great. And then here is the distressed fish. I actually have him pop up in, I think it's my second sketchbook. He's in like a painting in the background. And then I actually drew this as part of one of my projects in the fall semester. And then we have handsome Squidward. And then I wrote down, I was in a Sam Does Arts video.
Natural, but we're going to end off on a high note. So we have handsome Squidward here. And I want to demonstrate to you guys how to shade handsome Squidward. I want you to turn this drawing into an absolute masterpiece that maybe thousands of years in the future, people will find this file and they'll be like, wow, this was the height of digital art. What an absolute masterpiece. This is the pinnacle of human creativity.
I'll never forget, I was so perplexed. So Sam Does Arts is a YouTuber that I've been following since the very beginning of my art journey, and he'll sometimes do this thing where he has people either post on Instagram or whatever social media account. He'll have you post there and then like use one of his hashtags, or if you're in his Discord group, which you can get by being a member of his Patreon. And I was so excited that I made it to a video because I didn't think he was gonna pick me, and then like either the day before or like a little bit, he was like redrawing like what people had done, I believe it was, and so he had posted him painting handsome Squidward, and I was like, oh my god, he saw my submission. I was freaking out. Here is Fred Porlock from Moriarty the Patriot. This show does not get talked about enough, and it makes me really, really sad. It's like if Moriarty was kind of like an anti-hero to the point where he was doing stuff to help people, but it just wasn't right in the eyes of the law, which is kind of what an anti-hero is. Or just like the way he goes about it is just not right. But I'm like, there's good intentions behind it. He's helping people. If you haven't seen Moriarty the Patriot, you should. It's a great show. Here's Saitama from One Punch Man. I was actually thoroughly perplexed with the way that this came out because I did not know what the heck I was doing, but it came out great. So I'm like looking back at the anatomy and cringing at it. I think especially for not knowing perspective, just kind of like the way that I drew the hand came out really well for not practicing perspective in mind. So then here I started with my grid drawings. Here's Chifuyu from Tokyo Revengers. If you look closely, you can see the grid. I think grid drawing helped me a lot in the beginning. It was really fun because I just kind of like picked things I enjoyed and I just put them in a grid, and then I was able to draw what was in the boxes to make this full picture. If I had the option to do it again like tomorrow, I would not do it. I would just try to draw it as is without the grid. I think that the grid drawing helped me a lot. And I think I did it for like 2 months straight. This one is Aaron Yeager, also my guy. Rampo from Bungo Stray Dogs. Rampo's like my favorite character in Bungo Stray Dogs, even though I really love Dazai. I love him so much. And then this is Yotatsuki from Blue Period, and again, one of my favorite characters. I never really seem to like main characters. I find something about another character and I'm like, oh my god, I love how sassy he is. I love him. I want more of him. Here's Tendo from Haikyuu. So here was like kind of one of my first attempts trying shading with a grid drawing. And then you'll see I tried a lot after this. Another one of Kenma. And then here is my man, William James Moriarty. Let me shut up. This show is really good. I think you should watch it. And then here is Gon and Killua from Hunter x Hunter. No, I refuse to say Hunter x Hunter because that's stupid. And here's Spider-Man. I didn't notice that I kind of have drawn Spider-Man every year since I've started drawing, which was kind of similar to the way that I've drawn Hinata every year. But this was like an unintentional annual thing. All right, so here is Yaguchi from Blue Period. I love this show so much. I started watching it not long after I joined college to start drawing. So his story resonated with me a lot because, like him, I kind of dove into art headfirst with no other options, no other plans. I was like, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm gonna do. I don't care how things turn out, this is what I'm doing. You know, that kind of mindset. Here I have young Mikey from Tokyo Revengers. Look at him, all cute and not crazy. So then here I have Arthur and Shinra from Fire Force. This was one of the first animes I watched. I would love to recommend this show, but it's very heavy on fan service. It was pissing me off at the time, so I'm not going to be like, oh my god, you have to. I think it's cool if you do. If you don't, I understand, because it's a lot. Here's Dazai from Bungo Stray Dogs. This was towards the end of my first semester where I had done painting and like drawing in charcoal and stuff, so I was trying to get more comfortable with shading. So I drew kind of like the view from my bed to my window. You can see my old TV and my old dresser and this bookshelf that's no longer over here. It's on the opposite side of the room. This is a still life practice that I saw that I wanted to try and copy. Well, it was a still life image that I wanted to try practicing. I had this pencil that kind of had like different weights to them, so I was able to experiment kind of like with doing darker colors and whatnot. It was really fun. I like the way that this came out, even though this is like a quarter of the page. And then here was the first drawing I did that was not a grid drawing, and it was Inosuke, a little boarhead kid. And then here is the Mushroom Girl from My Hero Academia. Don't ask me her name, I cannot remember. Here is Meruem from Hunter x Hunter. I was so proud of the way that this came out. I was beyond proud. I was elated because I'm like, look at this. This is from somebody who was drawing for a year and a half. I was self-taught like right before this. I was not making much progress. So this to me is like leaps and bounds worth. Pat on the back, round of applause. Good job, Pass Maya. And then here's Ray from The Promised Neverland. It's my guy. Here's Chuya from Bungo Stray Dogs. He has the power of controlling gravity, which is actually pretty cool. Here is Langa from Skate the Infinity. This is when Buddy first tried skating and he got all bruised up. Poor Buddy. Anyways, here's Tact from Tactopy Destiny. I gave myself a border. This kind of like line that's not crossing over is a border that I made beforehand, and then I would make sure that I kept the drawing inside. And that's kind of like how I worked on proportions a little bit. And then here, I was so proud of this one too. This is Cherry Blossom from Skate the Infinity, and I did a lot more shading, and I was like, oh my god, this looks freaking great. I'm just taking into consideration my skill level. Like, I was so unconfident in myself and what I was able to do, and the fact that I still came out with pieces like this, absolutely amazing. I just wish that it like helped to boost my confidence at the time. And then here is the Thug Tug. I like the way that this came out. I was actually thoroughly enjoying doing this, even though it's fairly simple. And then here is some eyes, nose, mouth, and ear practice. I genuinely hate that this is bumpy. I don't like it. It's making me uneasy. And I don't like how this ear just kind of like teardrops down. But I don't like it. I mean, just like, it's not the way that I draw them. So I'm like, it's kind of like unsettling to look at. And then here is Daisuke Kambe from The Millionaire Detective. Again, another show that I really enjoyed. I wish that it lasted longer too. Then I had to add my guy Stitch. I just drew this whole scene when he was like getting something out the fridge, and I really enjoy it. I like it so much. I did not give myself enough props for how well things came out, considering my skill level and confidence in myself at the time. So this is me giving my past self that round of applause, that pat on the back, that punch in the face. Gayu! Bro, his pattern on his Howie was very hard to do for someone who did not know what she was doing. You can tell that the shapes are off, but you know, the attempt was there. Here is Maki from Blue Period. She's eating her french fry. Here's some more eye practice here. You can see I kind of ventured from realism, semi-realism, anime, realism. And then here is when things really start to change, because this was the first day of my figure drawing class. So this is when I started getting a little bit better at drawing bodies. Here is what we had to draw on our first day. A still life. It was kind of like stuff that the professor had like propped up. This was the apartment at my cousin's house. Here is me just kind of like copying like some of the homework stuff that we did. And then here was my proportions practice. This is kind of where I started getting better at drawing bodies. You can see me putting into practice here. I was taking kind of like images from Pinterest, and I was trying to draw the line of action surrounding them. You can see in this one I drew this line here, it's line of action here. I think this one just was a straight line, which it never really should be if you're trying to do kind of like a pose with balance in it. There should always be like kind of like one side curving a little bit, or whether that be like an S, V, C, like as long as it's like not just like, oh, you're just standing straight. Basically, if you want any pose other than that, you know, there's gonna be a line of action as long as you're drawing it correctly. Cheng Xiaoshi and Lu Guang from Link Click. That show is great. I still have yet to watch the 3rd season. I'm going to get there. I'm on break from college at the moment, so, and I don't work all that often. Like, it's not like oh, I'm falling asleep every time I get home like it was at my previous job. I actually have time, so I'm going to watch the 3rd season. The show is great. To give you some kind of context, they can travel through time with photos. So he can actually like go into the photo, and he can kind of like guide him into what he's doing. So the two of them are childhood friends. There's another character, I cannot think of her name right now. She's a girl, and I think she is their landlord, because I think they both have apartments like in her building, and she's the landlord, I believe. She's also a childhood friend. I drew Cell. I was actually pretty proud of the way that this came out too, because I was trying to do shading a lot more than I normally did, which you can definitely tell in this one, and I think that it came out pretty well. And then here's Spider-Man's back, which this wasn't a reference, this was from my head. I just looked up the emblem. Here's some male torso practice. I think that this one is actually really cool, the way that I did that curve in just like one fell swoop. Whatever, I digress. I don't like the way that these look, if I can be so honest with you. That is scary. Scary. What the heck? I got new art pencils, and I got a whole lot of confidence that came with it. So here is the something twins. They're from Haikyuu. God dang it, I can't think of their name right now. They are the twins. Oh god, I'm gonna beat myself up later. I will have a subtitle somewhere on the page. Oh god, I can't believe I forgot their name. And then here is 6 from Little Nightmares. And then here's Puka and Garu, which not a lot of people know that this show existed. Here is Psyche K. I wish that I drew like bigger and a lot more of these. I think it looks like him. And then here is Suna. Haikyuu is a good show. It's about volleyball, if anybody ever wants to watch it. My Boo Boo Razor. I just want to pinch his cheeks. His parents actually had to abandon him in the woods. I don't remember why. I think they were being chased, hunted. They were like trying to save his life. I think they died. And he was raised by like this pack of wolves. And so he doesn't really speak formulated English. So when he does, I'm like, oh, he's trying his best. And then here is my cousin Bub. I think if you're looking at this, it kind of looks like Bub. And then here is Bub's wife. And then here is Tay, which I'm like, this kind of looks like an icon. It's like a floating head. And it looks like Tay, which is funny. So, I wish that I do this one bigger too. Arasaki Ito from Genshin Impact. It actually came out really well and I was super proud of myself. He is actually one of my favorite characters in the game. He's really funny. He's like one of those like lovable idiots. He's so funny, I love him. Here's Baji from Tokyo Revengers, my guy. He's actually pretty great. Here's Okabe from from Steins Gate. Here is my man Ron Kamonohashi, the deranged detective, another show I want to put you guys onto. And then here I tried a lip lining, which then I was like, I will never do that again. You can see that I do the Jedi hand wave. This drawing does not exist, which I'm gonna write because I don't even remember what was on that page. And then here is Lumine from Genshin Impact. I think it came out really well again, but this one was fully in pen. I was trying to work on, a lot of people were recommending pen drawing as kind of like a way to feel more confident so that you can't erase what you did. I think this one came out pretty well. Like, I think it's recognizable as Lumine, at least if you've played the game. So, I'm happy with the way it came out. You do not see this page. Alright, we're not seeing that page. Here is 707 from Mystic Messenger. All my Mystic Messenger girlies, we rise at dawn. Here is Inosuke and Zenitsu at the entertainment district when they were trying to disguise themselves. I don't remember who put the makeup on them, but God, it looked awful. But, you know, they were trying their best. This is Chase from Harvest Moon, which is a game that I grew up playing. I was playing like while I was still learning how to read, so I didn't know how to do a lot of the stuff that was kind of required in the game. Like, I was not focusing on progressing the story at all. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna get married and I'm gonna live my life. Bada bing, bada boom. I did not know that there was like a whole plot to the story because I couldn't read very well at that time. And then on the very, very last page, we have Yaguchi once again. That is it for my first sketchbook tour, and I hope that you guys enjoyed that. I was like, I hope that this sounds good, even though it's basically me just rambling for however long this video is gonna be. Anyways, bye!